I know there's reasons why you want to wait, but what I've seen is guys who wait and procrastinate, they tend to procrastinate longer because doubt creeps into their mind. And this is probably why you don't have the results you want right now, is because you're not taking action every day to become the person you want to be. You're finding reasons to put it off or excuses. So that moment is not just about them committing to the program or whatever. It's about training their mind to operate and make decisions based on who they want to be. So when they understand that, they're like, dude, you're right. You're right. And that moment is symbolic of literally committing to that future life that they want versus settling and staying stuck in a life they say they don't want.
Sean's journey from serving a 7-year prison sentence for a crime that he didn't commit to becoming a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and coach is truly inspiring. So if you're ready to overcome adversity and unlock your true potential, let's dive in with Sean Michael Crane. There's a lot of, coaching companies and coaches for coaches and, the gamut. But
yeah,
for someone who's built a successful business, what's been your, what's the genuine juice? Like, we definitely are like-minded in that way, where we're just we are who we are, and then it works. But how does that practically look inside of, your business from growing it from the inside? You're never going to ask somebody to jump on a call like that randomly and shine them from the side. What does it look like? What do you do in order to bring people through a process, but in a genuine way?
Yeah. I mean, when I first started out, it was much more like success leaves clues and work the play that I was taught. There's definitely strategies in your content that gets people engaged, that gets them interested, then
right.
Knowing how to have a conversation behind closed doors in the DMs and, build rapport and see if they're a good fit, and then take that to a sales call. I mean, that's the bread and butter of building sales online, especially in the coaching business. And that's what I teach guys that I mentor who want to build and scale their coaching businesses. It's your content needs to be attractive. It needs to draw people in, right? That's the first and most important thing. So how do we do that? Well, you have to work on yourself to such an extent where you're attractive and intriguing to people. If you're just boring and you lack results, no one's going to want to know what you're doing because you don't look exceptional. There's nothing different about you. So personal development is key, right? You got to really push yourself. And when people are really going out of their comfort zone and they're on a mission to be their best selves, people see and feel that. They're like, dude, this guy's different. Look what he's doing. I mean, when I started building my coaching business, it would be me at 4 or 5 in the morning in the dark, running, filming videos, so fired up, pouring sweat, couldn't hide the passion, pouring my heart and soul into that message. And the mindset every morning when my alarm went off was, I got to get up and show people what's possible. I got to inspire guys who are struggling with their sobriety, with just feeling stuck in life. I got to speak to them and get through to them. So every day that was my mission, was to get up and do things that tested and challenged me, where I could just naturally share a high level message to them. And man, it started attracting a lot of people, and they would DM me, dude, I want to feel that passion. Bro, that video, man, you spoke to me. I can't tell you how many times I've got messages from people that said, Sean, I feel like you were speaking right to me in that message. So the content has to be there. You have to know who your prospects are, who you're speaking to when you pick up that phone or put out your message. The more intimately you understand them, the more they feel connected to you and resonate with you, and the more trust is built. And so then, in the DMs, work the conversation, ask the right questions, get them to open up, build a little rapport there, and then onto a sales call. And it's essentially the same process right there, right? Sales calls would be on Zoom or a phone call. And the main thing is ask the right questions and shut up and navigate the conversation properly. And most of the time, after a couple of years of me putting out consistent content and people seeing my growth, they would come in already sold. They just had to confirm okay, Sean is who he says he is or appears to be. Right. And it was a pretty easy, flawless process at that point.
Yeah, bridge that gap for me, because you're right. Someone might be listening right now and, they're like, yeah, I know I got to do content, and they're overthinking it, right? I know you've got a videographer that follows you around, goes to your events, you do stuff in the car, just on your phone. You've got just this very natural, genuine presence. But from there, like you're saying, they're pre-sold. They're just now confirming that you are who you are on the sales call. What does that look like for the buyer? Someone's wondering right now, I wonder if Sean's, really who he says he is. What do they experience on the sales call that confirms that for them? And what could they do with their prospects as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, number one, people want to be able to trust you. So if they, I don't sell people on the phone or on Zoom anymore, at all. If I get a guy on the phone, I want to know about his daily routines. I want to know about his health and fitness, his mental state. And then I want to know, what are the most important things in your life? Are you a father and a husband? Are you a business owner? Because I know if the person is not at the level they want to be at, it's bleeding into these very important areas of life. Right. So I a good sales call is like a coaching call where they have these epiphanies and breakthroughs. And I either say things or challenge them on things that get them to go, wow, he's right. And so in the process of that call, they already see and feel the value because I'm either listening to them and they don't get a chance to talk and open up about these things to anybody. I'm challenging them on beliefs and painting a picture of what life could be like if they maybe thought differently or behaved differently. And ultimately, like, you got to stir some emotion up in them. We got to get them fired up. Maybe they get a little sad, but then they also get encouraged and inspired. So when you do that the right way, that's the formula for them wanting to change. But here's the hardest part for guys. They know this. They know it. They've been telling people and talking about it for months or years. But when it comes down to making the commitment, that's the hardest part. And there's always sometimes some objection or some reason why they can't. Let me talk to my wife. Let me move some money around. Let me wait till the end of the month. My job as a leader and a coach and somebody who truly cares, I understand how critical that moment is. Number one, if they don't commit, the likelihood of them showing up next week drops drastically. Number two, it's all about an internal battle and how we're training our minds to make decisions. So if we make decisions the same way we have in the past, I'm going to wait till next month. Let me think about it. That's fear and doubt. When you operate from fear and doubt, you never get what you want. And so this is one of the most coachable moments for guys and one of the moments that really help them to have a breakthrough. I explain this to them. I go, look, man, I know you're having some fear and insecurity right now. I know there's reasons why you want to wait. But what I've seen is guys who wait and procrastinate, they tend to procrastinate longer because doubt creeps into their minds. And this is probably why you don't have the results you want right now, is because you're not taking action every day to become the person you want to be. You're finding reasons to put it off or excuses. So that moment is not just about them committing to the program or whatever. It's about training their mind to operate and make decisions based on who they want to be. You know what I mean? It's and so when they understand that, they're like, dude, you're right. You're right. And that moment is symbolic of literally committing to that future life that they want versus settling and staying stuck in a life they say they don't want. And when articulated the right way, I mean, that truth, it's not even a line. It's not even an objection handling process. That truth can overcome any objection. Like, I had guys tell me, dude, I got to talk to my wife. I never make decisions without talking to her. Honestly, when a guy tells me that, depending on my mood, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, bro? I'm like, seriously, you're the leader for your family. You're a visionary. Men and women are wired differently. Men are most of the times, men are the ones out there taking these visions and this feel inside of them and bringing it to life. Look at all these skyscrapers and bridges and all this amazing stuff. Like, predominantly men have built this stuff, and this isn't a sexist thing. This is the truth. A good woman supports you and believes in you, and she can be side by side with you, but there's something different about men and women. Whereas men are the ones that like have this creativity and these visions, and we got to go out and create it and build it. And 9 times out of 10, if you go and ask your wife, the first thing she's going to say is, how much does it cost? Right. And she's thinking about the number, and she can't empathize with you because she just can't. It's not her fault. It's just, she doesn't know what's been going on internally, emotionally. And she doesn't understand what it takes for you to build this next level life that you're telling me you want. And so I just challenge them on, I say, look, I want you to have a beautiful relationship with your wife, but I don't want you to get talked out of something you want to do. And it's funny where a lot of people get stuck with the wife objection. Like I kind of just call BS on it. I call bullshit. I'm like, look, if you want to live the ultimate life, this is what it takes. I'm never going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you the truth. And this is what I've done myself.
Right. And let's be honest, a $500, $1,000, a $5,000, a $10,000 decision shouldn't wreck your marriage. And if it does, then you've got other problems.
Yep. Yeah. Usually it comes down to they've been breaking so many promises that their wife doesn't believe in them. So they're going to say, "Oh, honey, I spent this money again." She's gonna be like, "Again? Like you didn't do anything with the last 20 grand." Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? And so it's also bringing attention to that and going like, man, don't you want to become someone that she trusts and believes in versus somebody that's just habitually breaking promises?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so powerful. We had a couple friend of ours over to the house this weekend, and he was just really curious and inquisitive around the dynamic between Julie and I. And he was asking, based on personalities and based on how much how much masculine, feminine really is really flowing. The leader perspective that you just described is diluted a little bit if he's not like, well, first sold on his identity, which I'm sure we'll get to here in a minute because that's a big part of your work, but like knowing who he is and confident in that, and then now being able to build a track record so that she can come alongside and support. And a lot of times, if that's imbalanced, then you find that she provides different value to him. And so this gentleman was asking us some questions, and it was like, okay, so Chaz, you've done this and this and this, and Julie over here, okay, cool, but like, he was talking about how his wife had spoken into his life in certain ways, and we've had those experiences as well. But I was really trying to describe how Julie has been much more of a support player than like a, like, all right, this is the right answer or whatever. And I was having trouble articulating it until this movie scene came into my mind. Tell me what you think about this, because I actually think you would describe your wife and your situation like this as well. Do you remember the movie 300?
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the movie at the very beginning where they come and basically say, hey, you need to like give up arms or we're going to destroy you anyway, right? And he's about to kick him into the well, and he looks back at his wife. You know this scene? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And she doesn't say anything. She just looks at him and gives him that look of like, if you don't kick him in, I'm going to, and he already knew what he was going to do. He had already made the decision. He was just realigning with her that we're doing this thing. And he kicks him into the well, and down he goes, and blah, blah, blah. And so I described that scenario, and the guy that was asking all these questions, he was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. I think
Julie can't do that for me unless I'm doing what you're talking about, like stepping up, not only making the decisions, but then backing them up with action so that she has a long track record of like, oh no, Chaz is going to do exactly what he says. Right.
Yeah. And I think, just innate in men and women, like we are different, and that's okay. Like a lot of people in nowadays, right, they want to change the way that we fundamentally operated together for so long. Like when you take a strong man and a strong woman and you unite them, it creates something so beautiful. Now, men and women we're just wired differently. So we have to recognize that. My wife supports me 100% from day one. I've always opened up and talked to her about my dreams and my visions, and she's seen me work relentlessly every day. And everything that I told her was going to come true, I was going to do, I pulled it off. So there's not an ounce of doubt in her around me and my vision and my purpose in life. And she supports me 100%. In fact, I wouldn't be as driven or as focused I wouldn't have evolved into the man I am today without her. It would not have happened. So we're a team and we're doing it together, but we have different roles. Just like on a football team or a baseball team. We're on the same team. We just have different roles, and those are our strengths, and we support each other, and they complement one another. So most women, here's the truth. Most women want a strong man to lead and guide them. They want to feel certainty. They want to feel protected. They want to be like, okay, my guy's got me. Whether someone's breaking into the house or the economy slows down or we have children. I want a man who's going to be able to take care of us and guide us and lead us. Most women want that. There's some women who are a little more independent, alpha, maybe, like there's a lot of savvy business women out there. I've met women who they want to be in charge, and they're pursuing their own visions, and I love and respect that. But for most people, the traditional ways worked, and it still works to this day.
Yeah. Let's talk about, you kind of hinted at it for a second there, but you said basically I am who I am, or there's a big part of, all that I've been able to accomplish, even the drive, the motivation, the intensity probably that you operate at is, level 100, but without her, it, on your best day, maybe it's only 50. Why is that? What's the glue that she has, or what's the secret sauce that she has that gets Sean to operate, at level 100 when, you're obviously a disciplined guy. You've overcome so much in your life. You could accomplish stuff without her, but what you're saying is that it wouldn't be as good. Why is that? What's so special about that relationship?
Yeah. I definitely could, but it wouldn't be as meaningful for me. I want to make my wife proud, just like I want to make myself proud. I want to do things every day that help her to fall even more in love with me than we ever have been before. I care about her so much that I wouldn't want to live life without her. She gives me that spark, that emotion, that gratitude on a level that I wouldn't have without her. And then being able to bring children into this world and do that together, it's such a special thing. It adds a depth to this journey that I wouldn't have if I was just surface level chasing money, building businesses, conquering my own goals. Like there's so much more meaning. There's more at stake. There's so much more why behind what I do. Another thing too is guys who, like, here's the thing. If you don't have harmony at home and there's friction and there's disconnect, that bleeds into other areas of your life. And the worst thing is trying to be here when your mind's there. You know, a lot of guys, like, they're in business, they're thinking about the argument with their wife, and then they're home and they're thinking about the business. It happens a lot. So if you can create harmony in those relationships, it allows you to have that peace of mind and be present in all segments of life. And that's how we perform at the highest level. That's how we stay in that flow state. That's when all our unique abilities and creativity emerge. And it just adds value to everything that we do.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk identity, because you work with, you know, primarily men, but your work is all about optimizing and him becoming, you know, not only just the best version of himself, but just this huge impactful player that now is changing the lives of others around him, even, you know, wife and kids, but starts obviously with him. Starts a lot of it with the physical health piece, but you and I both know that it starts even inside, you know, before we can start really changing the physique. It's identity, it's mindset. You've got obviously a crazy story, and maybe give us, you know, maybe 30 or 60 seconds on a little bit of the backdrop of your story. But how are you working with men today to become first here the best version of themselves, specifically related to identity? Why is that so important?
Yeah. You hear Ed Milet talk about like your inner thermostat. Have you ever heard that? He talks about everyone has this thermostat, right? Like if you're set at a 60, you might be able to operate at a 70 or 80 for a little bit, but you always drop back down to that 60. That's kind of our identity and our sense of self-worth, what we believe we can accomplish in life, you know? And so, I mean, for me, man, as a kid, I thought I had a lot of ability. I had big dreams. I was very passionate, and I went through a lot of difficult times, a very dark period of time where my parents were battling addiction. I lost them at a young age to prison and to the streets. I went through my own battle with addiction for 10 years and then found myself facing life in prison. So I really wasted away. I wasted this 10-year stretch of life where I could have done so much. And I found myself sitting in that jail cell reflecting on all of these things. And in that moment, I just felt so ashamed and discouraged that was the effort I gave to life. And that was the person that I showed the world, because the person that people came to know me as, that wasn't who I really am. And I think a lot of people, they slowly change and settle over time, and they don't have that moment where they can actually become aware of what's taking place. And then it becomes so ingrained into who they are, they almost adopt this new identity that's not who they ever wanted to be. That's what happened to me. You know, I remember sitting there in my jail cell going, oh my gosh, like this isn't me, but that's who everyone thinks I am. How'd this happen? And it was because I was just in pain. I had trauma. I wasn't facing my problems and issues, and I was just kind of running from them in life. So you take like the average man or woman who after high school and college, now they're thrust into the working world, and they got to pay their bills, and then they have kids. And then all of a sudden these series of events go by where they're in this reactive state 24/7, and they find themselves in a place in life where they're not happy. They're not happy in their career. They look in the mirror and that's not the body or physique they want. They look in their bank account, like all these areas. And the craziest thing is they keep doing it because they don't know how to change, right? Like, and change is scary. So anyway, for me, when I sat in that cell, all of my success came down to this one moment of clarity where I was looking in the mirror in my jail cell and I'm like, dude, this is not who I want to be. This is not the man that I wanted to give to the world. And I was so ashamed and so pissed off. At that point, I didn't know how much time in prison I was going to do, but for my own inner peace and just like, gosh, just for me, I had to fight and become somebody I was proud of. So in that moment, I made a decision that I was going to go all in every moment and everything I did to give maximum effort, be my true and best self, my authentic self. I was never again going to do things to try to appease people. I wasn't going to be this fictitious character, the charlatan that I created out of necessity. I was going to be true to myself. And I started doing that. I started doing that from that moment forward. And it has to be a commitment for you. You know, a lot of guys will say, you know, and ask them, what's your why, man? He's like, oh, it's my wife and kids for sure. I go, okay, but like, look at how fat and out of shape you are. And this is the truth. I got to have these honest conversations with guys. You're in a job that you hate for the last 10 years and you're drinking. Like, is your wife and kids really your why? Like, I know you love them. I'm not doubting that. But if that was your why, either you don't care about them that much, or I think that you need to find a deeper why that's going to drive you. And oftentimes it has to be something personal. It has to be something that's from childhood, or something, that we can gravitate to from the past, or this deeper realization about who we want to be and why, that's going to completely change the way we operate. And for me, it was feeling like I died. Like I felt like I was losing my life in that cell, and God gave me a second chance. And I'm not going to waste it. How disrespectful would that be to waste this second chance that I was gifted? So every day, that's what drives me, is knowing what's at stake and remembering that pain. Of course, I want to do it for my wife and kids. I want to do it for men out in the world I can coach. But at the end of the day, I have to do it for me. And this is what keeps me driven 24/7 every day. And I don't feel that flame, that drive and fire is ever going to go out.
Yeah, I would say that, that what that made me think of, actually, Julie and I joke. It's a friendly joke at this point, because, we've realized that not other couples can joke like this, but around her and her fitness, I mean, her staying sexy is really important to me. When we don't have like a contract around it or anything, but us staying fit for each other is really important. But that's not why Julie stays fit. Julie works out 7 days a week, or sometimes, on top of that with the kids, but like, because for her, like that makes her feel amazing. When she looks at herself, or when she feels like she's energized that day because she's exercised and has done the things healthy, as far as food and eating and all the things that are right for her, it's good for her. And then, oh, by the way, she gets to stay looking fine for me. But she's not doing it for me, which I think is a really important distinction that you just made. And I think a lot of times, that's why it's a joke for us, because I think, unfortunately, a lot of couples, there is an expectation of that. And it's like, okay, well, I'll do it for her, or I'll do it for him. And it's like, that's good. But if you're not going to make the decision for yourself, all high performers have had that moment, whether it was in a jail cell or not, of going, from here forward, this is how it's going to be. And we can remember those very decisive decision-making moments that were just clear as day. And then from there going forward, we've operated as, no, I will do what I say I'm going to do. And if that means I'm supposed to work out, yeah, I'm going to work out. Or if I'm not going to eat that, I'm not going to eat that. Not because I'm doing it for someone else, but because it doesn't serve me. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do something that doesn't serve me.
Yeah. And everything we do reflects upon who we are, like how much we really care.
And how we believe we are, right?
Yeah. So like the biggest issue is people don't believe they can achieve something better. They don't believe they're worth it. Why not? Like, of course you are. There's the statistic is astounding. And I don't even know how accurate this is, but there's a statistic that says there's a 1 in 4 trillion. I believe it's 4 trillion. It might be 400 trillion chance of us even being born with the exact DNA and, the exact, miracle that had to take place for us to be born. A 1 in 4 trillion. So if you look at that, you recognize you're here for a purpose, and people go through things when they're younger, and it really jades them and makes them insecure and doubt themselves. But you can change that. It takes repetition over time, but you can completely change your sense of competence. You can change your self-belief, your esteem. You have to put in the work though. And so every day, if you just start attacking these things in your life that you want to improve, imagine who you'd be and how you'd feel in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And I'm a very firm believer that personal development creates not just professional success, but success across the board, because you're transforming who you are and the energy that you bring into your relationships, into business meetings, into social media content, everything. It's a reflection of you and you're really like your frequency and your internal state that's transmitted. And transmuted through your messages, through your presence alone can create opportunities, because it's almost like this unconscious message when you walk into a room. Like, people can feel the work you've put in yourself. They can feel the discipline, the sacrifice, the commitment, versus if you haven't, you don't stand out. People aren't gravitated towards you. You're not that magnetic figure that can just really create a life of abundance.
Yeah, you're 100% right. What we talked identity, we've talked, even just the power of personal development, but I want to dial that in for the person that's listening right now that maybe has been on a journey of personal development. Maybe they're in great shape. Maybe they've got a great mindset. They've got a great marriage. Maybe they're winning in all areas, as we say. But there's another level always. And I know that you know that, I know that. What would you say to that person, the person that already kind of appears to be, the top 1%, what's the next level? Like if someone like that came to you and was like, all right, Sean, like, I've kind of already XYZ, checked the list of accomplishments and achievements and I'm operating at this level, whatever. Where does that person go? What do you talk to that person about?
That's a good question. I mean, usually when we develop mastery in particular areas of life and we get results, then it becomes about service and giving back. I mean, I have coaching clients who have done 7-8 figures in business and they're crushing it and they feel a void. They're like, I don't feel excited about what I used to do. I'm not driven like I was when I was building my businesses. And so talking and reflecting on these ideas and kind of digging deeper, a lot of times that creates a space where that clarity can start to drive, and so then it usually becomes about, man, teaching others, giving back, because it feels so amazing to share with people what we've done that's worked in our lives and see it work in their lives, because we know what it's like to maybe feel stuck or want to level up, want to grow. And then if we can help other people do it, that's how you keep that fulfillment alive and that passion. Right. So I think it's about, and then this is something I always challenge people on. I go, okay, I just want you to take like 2 minutes, get out a pen and paper. I'm going to time you on this, so don't overthink it. I want you to write down as many words or short sentences on this paper that would depict an ideal best life for yourself. It might be similar to what you're doing now, but there might be things that are different. And imagine God came down from the sky or spoke to you and was going to grant these things as wishes for you. And it was going to materialize into your life in the next year. What would you write down? And then we analyze that. We look at how is that different than the life you're currently living, right? And so it's just about getting clarity. And I spend so much time reflecting and thinking. In fact, my main focus going into this next year is to take really no sales calls, do very little coaching calls, and have about 3 hours a day where I can read and journal and self-reflect, maybe out on a park bench, maybe on the beach, listen to certain podcasts, because we have so much creativity and so much depth inside of us, but when we're in this, consistent pattern of just go, and we're just checking tasks, checking these boxes, reacting, we're going to stay stuck at that level until we give ourselves space to be able to visualize what that next level looks like. So for me, that's what I'm always doing. I'm always very cognizant of that next level and who I need to evolve into to make that my norm.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that you're right. That think time is super powerful. And even just in the last couple of years, I've really pressed on that even for myself. What do you think, like a guy at your level, you're saying, I'm going to spend 3 hours. I'm going to sit and think. I'm going to visualize what's next for me. I'm going to slow down to speed up. What is next for you? I mean, you've accomplished so much. What is next for Sean?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been on such a mission to build my coaching business to the point where it's at now. And now I've been able to hire, train, delegate, team up with some amazing people. Like it went from me to then 2 team members to now over 12. We have about 20 people running the business day to day, to the point where I can make those decisions to delegate more and more. And now it becomes about training team members, training people, helping them to grow and elevate, teaching them what I've done. And for me, it's about the bigger picture of impact, right? So, I was just at this event, Genius Network, this past weekend in Arizona by Joe Polish's network. And when I say Genius Network, that's not a fabrication. These are the most gifted, successful people in the country and internationally in their particular area of expertise. I mean, the amount of the people in that room, about 200 people, it's just incredible. If you know Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, #1 FBI negotiator in the world, Michael Burnoff, who's a great coach. I mean, the list goes on and on. Benjamin Hardy, who wrote a bunch of amazing books, Be Your Future Self Now, 10X is Easier Than 2X. Those are 2 great books. And another one is Who Not How. Speaking with him, spending time with him. Dan Sullivan, who's one of the best coaches for entrepreneurs ever. He's older now. And then, hearing some political figures speak at this event. So Joe Polish surprised everyone. And he took a big risk by getting these guys to commit to this event before the election. But he had RFK, who's backing the Make America Healthy movement again. Callie Means, who teamed up with RFK, who was in D.C., saw the corruption. Now he's all about bringing this awareness to the people and changing the way that we feed our kids, take care of our kids, the way we run our country. Tucker Carlson, who's an advocate for all this change, and Jordan Peterson, right? So I'm listening to these guys speak, and they're all saying the same thing in different ways. One of the things that really stood out to me is Callie Means came out And he goes, this is about raising the collective consciousness of our nation. We have to go through a re-education from the food we eat, the way we educate our children, bringing back morals and values into the household, uniting one another, not looking at our differences, but looking at our similarities. It was just so beautiful to hear these guys. And like, I never heard politicians talk about these things. They're life coaches. And RFK, he's all about eradicating the corruption in the FDA, the CDC, getting these food companies to ban these toxic dyes and additives and seed oils that are poisoning our children. When they share the statistics, it's alarming. Cancer increases 1% each year in children. The rate of autism went from 1 in 1,500 in the year 2000 to 1 in 36 newborns. Astounding. Obesity is 50% in young kids. And here's the thing. Insurance and doctors can now prescribe your children Ozempic to lose weight, but they won't give them a prescription for a gym membership or teach them about healthy food and nutritious food and educate parents. So these guys are they're saying on day one, they're going to fire all 600 members of the health department in the U.S. government and replace them. They're going to go into the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, all these government regulated entities that are supposed to protect us, and they're going to clean house and they're going to bring real good people in to end the corruption. So it's crazy because dude, God speaks to me, man. Everything I've done in my life, it started as an intuition and a feeling and a spiritual connection. Like every decision I've made, this path that I've been on, I could not have done this myself. I was a broken individual, struggling with sobriety, struggling to get through the day. And I found so much inner peace and love, man. And I just trusted in this path for the last 5 years. And when I know I got to make a decision and go all in on something, I had the courage to do it. And so that started with just getting out and not getting into that 9-to-5 job I had, but forging my own path. That led me to being with Jessica and reuniting with her and starting a family. Then during COVID, pivoting and going online and sharing more of my truth, like every step of the way. And at the beginning of the year, I told one of my team members, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on in the blue collar space. A lot of guys need help with mindset, fitness, nutrition, sobriety. I'm going to position Unstoppable 365 as the #1 personal development program for men and women in the trades. And literally months after that, I'm teamed up with Tommy, Joe Polish, Dr. J. We're literally doing that, being sought after to speak at all the events. All the individuals in roofing, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, they're all reaching out. And our coaching program has grown astronomically, positioned as the #1 program for the trades. It's crazy, right? Like how that happened. And then more recently, seeing what's going on in the country and getting passionate about politics for the first time in my life, because I feel like we have a chance, we have a voice, what we do and say really matters. I'm like, man, I want to align Unstoppable with this Make America Healthy Again movement and do as much good for as many people as possible. Like I want to be the application that these people can use to get healthier.
Right. Yeah, not just a slogan.
We have to re-educate them, right? We have to re-educate them with new information, but then we have to give them the tools to actually do that. So it just so happened I went to this event and the surprise guests were literally the founders of this movement. And I'm there with them, talking to them, building rapport, connected to them now. So that's my mission, man. It's like, how can I reach hundreds of millions of people and change their lives? Well, I have to get on these bigger platforms and build these powerful relationships with #1 people I believe in, and then that are in integrity. If I see anybody, I don't care who they are, how well known you are, how famous you are, how big of an opportunity or platform you can give me. If you're not in integrity with what you say and I'm not aligned to your values, I will not work with you. I will not be seen with you. I will not support you. So anything you see me putting out on social media, anything I stand for and represent, I've done my due diligence. I've reflected on it. I've prayed on it. I've done my research and I believe in it. So that's where I want to go. I want to make the most impact possible, not just on stages, but, I really think right now we have the biggest opportunity in history, at least in our lives, to help more people than ever and really change things on a fundamental spiritual level in a way that will give everybody beautiful, amazing lives.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's a passionate vision. What do you think that, the person listening right now, regardless of, where they are in the spectrum of optimization, what's one thing that they need to hear from you today in order to take the next step? Maybe it's reach out and call you, but maybe it's just show up, tonight to dinner. I don't know, but what's the very first thing that comes to your mind as far as the listener, optimizing or going to the next level? What's the first thing that they need to go do, now?
First of all, we all have the answers to our problems right now. You know, whoever's listening to this, what you need to do and change to grow into that person you want to become. When you don't do it, you feel regret, you feel negative self-talk, you feel shame. You know what you need to do. Most people have such a difficult time consistently taking action that aligns to what their conscience is calling them to do, because they doubt that path, because maybe it's hard, they don't have support. These old habits and this old way of living is very difficult to change. So that's why guys reach out to me, because we have a plan that we customize for them. And then we provide a lot of accountability and support. We got to get you in an environment where you're hearing this dialogue and you're talking about change and you're seeing other people change so much, and you have a plan to follow that it rewires the brain and the way we look at ourselves and what we think is possible. That's why I created Unstoppable. So number one, nobody really needs me. You could do it on your own if you just listen to your conscience and you have the courage to take action. However, a lot of people struggle with that. So if you want to expedite the journey, you want support from people who will hold you accountable and want the best for you, reach out to us. Go to unstoppable365.com or Shawn Michael Crane on Facebook and send me a DM. The testimonials we have from our guys are so incredible. Losing 100 pounds, committing to a life of sobriety, changing their relationship with their wives, just anything and everything you can imagine I've seen, and it's incredible. You see these guys go from feeling stuck and the look on their face, they're defeated, they're living a life where they're dying slowly every day, to the opposite, looking so alive, so vibrant, so grateful. Their bodies look different. The look in their eyes is different. Their energy is different. And it's because they finally committed to that path that they want to be on in life, right? But a lot of people, we need accountability and support. And even for me, that's why, I'm joining the Genius Network, to get in those rooms, because your environment is so important. And if you're around a bunch of high achievers and people that are accomplishing great things and they're supporting you and showing you how to do it, imagine who you'd become versus just not taking action, staying in that same environment around the same people, hoping that things are going to change. It seldom does.
Yeah, I agree. I just had the pleasure of speaking to one of your clients who has lost 100 pounds. This was just last week that I knew that he had seen actually you speaking at one of our events, and also he's working with Ryan Groth as well. And so he had commented, and we had kind of gone back and forth, and just wanted to connect with him. But he was telling me just how incredible it's been working with you guys, and how he's lost 100 pounds this calendar year.
Yeah, that's life changing.
Yeah,
life-saving and life-changing. If you can do that, there's nothing in life you can't do. I really think the physical stuff for a lot of people is the hardest. But it's all hard. Making money's hard. Being a good husband's hard. Being a dedicated father, it's not hard. It just requires effort and consistent work. And Jordan Peterson said something really, really inspiring on stage. He goes, "Look, life is all about sacrifice. Everything you do, you're going to sacrifice something else. Right now, me being on this podcast talking to you, I'm sacrificing time with other people. Being at work, I'm sacrificing time with my family. So you got to understand, you're always sacrificing time, or your decisions lead to sacrifice. But make sure that sacrifice is worthwhile, that those sacrifices are going to get you into a place where you're proud of yourself and you're living a life that you wanted, not the opposite. And I think a lot of people don't realize they're doing the opposite with the food choices they make, with the neglect in the gym and their health, with the way they show up for their family. They're choosing the phone, they're choosing entertainment to sleep in, tasty food, versus the other decisions. So they're sacrificing that best self who they could evolve into over time versus pleasure in the moment or giving into the excuses in the moment. Those people suffer immensely throughout their life. And those people suffer on their deathbed with regrets because they realize it's over, and they could have become someone so amazing, so incredible, so impactful, but they didn't realize that it was going to go that quick. They didn't realize what was at stake. And that's my whole mission and purpose and drive behind coaching and speaking, is I know the pain of regret, and I know what it's like to feel like it's all over and be shocked that it went that fast. Shocked that I did that to myself. I couldn't believe it. And God gave me another chance. So every day I'm on a mission to reach as many people and get through to them so they can change now and they don't have that regret later on in life.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I appreciate you dropping Unstoppable 365 and the website. We'll put all that in the show notes. And just as an encouragement to the listener, not only have I spoken with Shawn's clients, I personally am a client, and I've done blood work with their team, and I'm on all kinds of cool supplements that are making, in fact, actually just last week, because of the supplements that your team has me on, I decided to give up caffeine. I mean, I'm already pretty optimized when it comes to nutrition, but that was like the one last little thing I was holding on to. and no more. No, it's not necessary when my body's getting what it needs. And Sean's team was able to help me do that. So if you have any interest at all of optimizing your life, really, not just the health stuff, but going to the next level, Sean is a great option for that. And you should check out his information down below. Sean, thanks for being here, brother. I so enjoyed being with you at our event in Austin and just spending some time with you on the riverboat there and just getting to know you. But I know that there'll be plenty more for us to be able to add value to each other. Thanks for being here, spending your time, like you said, and giving value to the audience. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.